dan selamat kembali. Korang tengah buat apa? Aku ada dekat Perkemah hari ni, dekat studio Dewan Muda Perkemah. Jadi kita hari ni nak buat sikit update lah mengenai dunia EV. Dan lebih khusus lagi kita nak cerita tentang charging. Sebab tiap-tiap kali kita buat video pasal EV, soalan kalau tak nombor 1, nombor 2. Mungkin nombor 1, kenapa EV mahal sangat. Soalan nombor 2 ialah, kalau aku beli ni aku nak charge kat mana. Jadi charging ni memang adalah satu orang kata pain point untuk EV. Dan kalau kita tengok minggu lepas pun, salah satu pengumuman terbesar dalam dunia EV, iaitu bila Ford mengumumkan dia akan ambil ataupun akan guna pakai Tesla punya North American Charging Standard, ataupun plug Tesla itulah, yang charger yang kecil itu. Dan dengan adanya Ford bersama dengan Tesla telah membuatkan, saya tak ingat apa nama organisation kat US, dia jadi macam tak ketahuan sikit. Dia mula kata jangan ada dua standard. So ini menunjukkan bahawa bila dah ada dua big player running on one particular standard, ada kemungkinan lah NACS tu mungkin akan jadi the dominant standard dekat North America. Jadi one of the reason kenapa NACS tu dominant is because Tesla punya supercharger network is very reliable. So dia cerita dekat sini, you boleh pasang charger banyak mana pun, kalau dia tak reliable, dia pun tak guna juga. Dan you kena ada satu sistem di mana charger tu dia boleh communicate dengan network dan beritahu in real time to the drivers, the owners of EVs, dekat mana charger yang available, so dia boleh buat planning. So kita ni cerita transition ke EV elektrik ni, dia akan hanya jadi realiti bila benda tu tak menyusahkan orang. Dan bila benda tu dia make it easy on us lah, everybody lah, kan. So hari ni kita ada 3 different perspektif tetamu kita. Yang pertama sekali daripada Zeva, Puan Aisyah, dia Executive Secretary ataupun Setiausaha Kerja Zeva. Zeva ni Zero Emission Vehicle Association. Zeva mewakili jenama brand owners, also mewakili charging point operators dengan
EV owners
dan also EV owners. Okay, so dan yang kedua kita ada My Evoque punya Presiden, Datuk Syarul Halmi. Of course, My Evoque is My EV Owners Club. So dia orang ada perspektif sebagai pengguna. Pengguna ni dia tahu dia nak senang je lah. Dia tak maulah semak-semak susah nak carilah apa macam-macam. So tu dia orang punya perspektif. Dan of course kita ada juga daripada Perkemah. Perkemah ni ada multi role juga lah kat sini. Pertama sekali dia sebagai host kita lah, tu studio kan, dia orang punya studio ni. Dan yang keduanya dia orang juga pengimport. So dia orang ada interest in growing the EV market, and they also have a direct interest in membina charging network. Pasal dia orang punya sasaran tahun ni ialah untuk membina 100 charger. Dan ada macam-macam cerita juga lah kat situ. Okay, so apa kata kita start dengan Ziva hari ni dan cerita the state of things today. Berapa banyak charger dah ada kat Malaysia ni? Adakah sekarang ni mencukupi? Pasal orang kata masih tak cukup dan sebagainya.
Okey, jadi dari segi saya suka bercakap mengenai numbers ni kalau kita compare 2021 dengan 2022 lah. So 2021 dalam rekod MITI hanya ada 2 je DC charger, and penghujung 2022 ada lebih kurang 100. Maksudnya the market respond very well to government punya to consumer punya demand, and also government punya insentif kan. Lepas tu total charges mengikut rekod MITI penghujung 2022 tu ada lebih kurang 1000. So nampak termasuklah AC charger dengan DC charger lah. DC charger adalah 10% daripada itu. Tapi sebenarnya kalau kita tengok dari segi pencapaiannya 2025, kerajaan mensasarkan 10,000 charger sebenarnya. Yes. So we are just like macam 10% of that lah. Kan, so dari segi charger sebenarnya agak jauh ketinggalan lah.
Is it an impossible task ke nak sampai ke 10,000?
Kalau kita tengok yang ini My Evoque selalu tekankanlah, dia selalu macam kalau misalnya ada 2 tahun lagi, 2024, 2025 ada 2 tahun lagi lah kan, tahun ni dalam dah setengah tahun kita kena plan out lagi 9,000 charges. So 4,500 charges in a year. Okay, so that will actually be quite stretchy for the industry to respond. Kan, the industry yang nak invest pula, mereka menghadapi kekangan dari segi government punya rules, local authority punya procedures. So itu nanti kita akan bincangkan selepas inilah tuan.
Okay, what about pemilik EV sendiri? Datuk Syarul, you so what is your experience on charging ni over the last few years? Ada improvement ke, masih stagnating ke, what's the
Well, kalau cakap dalam tahun yang lepas ni, there's a lot more choices for people to charge, especially the standalone ones. So having said that, now we have talking about what the setup of the chargers is slowing down, or memang dah slow aja, because now there are a lot more EVs and like hybrids, but there are just too few. Kalau berbandingkan dengan the competition of plug-in vehicles in the urban areas at the moment. Okay, that's one point lah, urban areas. Bila my experience in transit down in Singapore recently from the time, memang fantastic. Compare with the time when I first transit down in 2017. Two je DC charger along the way, and that one is charge EV, which was barely working. I remember it was dapat 20 kilowatt or something. And now you don't really have to plan. You go to KL in Singapore, banyak choices. Different story when you go to the East Coast. Still, there's only that pair of chargers going east, that bunker in Kenapa, and coming back only 150 kilowatt. Situation is improving if you go north from KL. Favorite of all the EV owners is the Ipoh Jentari 60 kilowatt, because lah tu ada McDonald's and also the fees is 5 kilowatt hour. But moving farther north than that, it's a little bit more difficult lah. I think we read that some of our Thai friends wanted to come down to KL and Singapore. They were struggling a little bit with the charges in Kedah, especially.
Okay. So down south dah memang quite well populated lah kan, charger dia going down to JB and also up to KL kan. So up north it's still sketchy jugalah. Okay. So perkhemah pula macam mana? Perkhemah sebelum ni dah memang ada perancangan untuk pasang 250 charger kan, your total target kan?
Total 450
by
2025. Okay, just a little bit update lah. Perkemah punya members baru ni dapat kebenaran lah daripada MOF dan MITI untuk menggunakan kumpulan wang amanah dana automotif Putra Kuadap. Untuk permulaan, total grant dekat 20 juta lah tahun ni. So dia punya tajuk is to build charging infrastructure open to public, sama ada with perkemah members punya property ataupun with other agencies or company yang nak participate dalam charging infrastructure. So kita ada target tahun ni 100 unit. Mungkin agak terbelakang sikit sebab you see, perkemah members ni tahun lepas, tahun sebelum ni, diorang excited buka sebab diorang ada produk nak jual, which is Tesla. Memang masa tu kita orang punya fokus kat sana lah, sebab kita nak ambil yang China apa semua ni tak ada lagi ride and drive. So bila kerajaan umumkan yang Tesla nak masuk, then suddenly kita punya momentum terkacau. Momentum sale. Jadi bila ahli ni, bila dia nampak mana kita punya future, apa produk kita nak jual, so dia punya respon tu agak sejuk sikit, slow. But we're working on it. So apa kita punya contingency plan tahun ni lah untuk complete 100. We are talking with big CPOs like Gentari, Charge EV and also Go to You yang ada dalam pasaran ini, untuk JV dengan kita supaya kita boleh fulfillkan the usage of grant ni, sebab kita memang kena habiskan grant ni tahun ni. So it's
So yang 20 juta tu untuk 100 charger ni.
lebih kurang 100, yes. Yeah. So 100 unit charger.
100 unit charger.
Bukannya 100 station, 100 unit.
So that means satu charger tu 200,000.
Tak sampai kot. Ini dia bagi kita maksimum 50,000.
Okey.
Tapi kalau kita buat dengan company lain, dia ada 50%, itu lain pula lah cerita dia. So dia ada cara lain, tapi kita kena apply dengan kuadab nanti lah. Tapi itu semua memang kita dalam proses dengan nak buat. So kalau kita partner dengan Gentari ataupun dengan big players macam ni, Gentari ke ataupun Charge EV ke ataupun, so mereka dah ada tanah, mereka dah ada tempat. So we can hopefully by partnering and JV with them, we can cepatlah pasang benda ni dalam tahun ni. Try to achieve that over 100 this year. So bagi pekemai, this is our phase on the line. We have to complete this juga. Macam mana pun kita kena pakai juga duit ni. So yeah, we are looking for partners. We are looking for partners to JV. We are already talking to some people already, and hopefully kita akan dapat some launches lah by bulan Julai ni. You know, with that money lah yang government dah bagi kita ni.
So tadi interestingly cakap kata momentum untuk Tesla tu dia menurut sikit lah.
Biasalah sebab so market anticipation ialah mereka akan beli dengan the kilang, right, the industry, instead of buying from us yang the middle guy, right? I think that's pretty normal lah market punya reaction. Kan, but for us on our side, kita kena cari another brand lah. Meaning that we have to elevate ourselves from just a mere second-hand car importer to a franchise punya player now. So we are talking to some players as well, some industry from China definitely, and we have our visit trip going there so coming up. So hopefully something will come out of that lah.
So kiranya untuk pasaran EV kat Malaysia ni masih lagi Tesla tu nama besar sangat lah.
Dari segi
ada nama lain tak yang boleh masuk selain daripada Tesla tu sebenarnya?
Ada, macam Polestar kita dah pernah buat, ataupun macam ada player-player dah main Audi, dah masuk Mercedes, kan. Tapi dari segi market acceptance, bila kita kata pasal EV ni kan, orang yang cepat je keluar duit kan, ialah bila cerita pasal Tesla lah. Sebab brand tu dah ada nama dalam dunia, bukan setakat Malaysia. So kalau hari ni saya nak convince orang beli Mercedes punya EV kan, susah. Melainkan orang tu memang minat Mercedes tapi Malaysia tak ada, then there will be different story. Tapi kalau kita kata nak out of thin air, orang nak EV, Tesla is the first thing orang cari. And of course kita silap lah dulu, kita sebagai persatuan kita fokus on a single brand, and which already trap us now lah, sebab because of we terlampau dependent on one single brand.
But what was there other brands yang you realistically boleh bawa masuk ke?
China punya brand, that's realistically, because why? Because now the middle class market, M40 punya market dah buka, right? BYD dah buka. So the pricing is also play an important role today dalam kereta, dalam penjualan kereta EV ni.
So despite the Tesla setback, you masih nampak EV market ni growing ke macam mana?
It is.
Tahun ni macam mana so far?
You know, I bet you the market is a growing number kan, but it will not come from Pekema this year because we have some correction to do, meaning what to sell now and all that. Tapi once we get all that, once we get our brand, we got our price range, product nak jual, I think the numbers is definitely going to grow. I can give you one number. BYD saja by bulan Mei ni, according to BYD punya sales people lah kan, dekat 3,000 kereta EV. So kalau kata Pekema tak boleh isi dah 1,000 lebih tu, dan BYD dah isi dah 1,500. So it's a growing number definitely, but sebab market dah getting interesting, the middle price range 150,000 tadi tengok kereta Aisyah, kereta BYD kat bawah tu, that is a there is a response, there is a demand from the market, that sort of market today. So kalau Pekema nak bawa pun, Pekema tak boleh bawa lagi 200-300 ribu punya kereta sahaja. We have to look at below 200,000 punya kereta now.
So dengan all this increasing number of cars kan, what is the state of the charging industry ni? Is there enough chargers or is there not enough chargers? Apa dia? What's the assessment sekarang?
Okay, so definitely kalau misalnya kita December last year, the number that MITI has is 3,600 kereta. So campur dengan this year, maybe with the a huge delivery of BYD, it might go into 6,000 end of this year. So charger sekarang ni ada 1,000. Okay, so kalau MITI MGTC punya ratio is 1 charger 6 car or 1 charger at 8 cars.
Right.
So nampak macam 1,000
ini
charger.
campur DC dan AC kita?
Betul,
DC saja?
public charger DC and AC.
Oh, campur lah.
So kalau kita nampak tu number dia cantik lah, 1,000 charger, 6,000 kereta.
Right.
Tetapi kita mesti ingat 1,000 tu tak semuanya buka for public. Kan ada yang macam buka dekat certain hanya untuk bangunan tu punya owner, ada hanya untuk
macam shopping complex
hanya untuk pekerja-pekerja di situ.
Okay.
Jadi sebenarnya masih tak mencukupi lah sebenarnya. Kita nak kena tengok public charger yang memang boleh digunakan untuk oleh consumer, kan.
So macam untuk tahun ni, what is a number that would be safe for the industry untuk by the end of this year? Like, let's say we add another 5,000 cars lah this year. Berapa? What number of chargers that would you have to have?
Actually sebenarnya the industry plans for more, kan. Macam macam tadi tu lah, Pekema is planning for 450 this year, kan. 100 this year. Okay. Total 450 sampai 2025. Gentari, I know they want 25% of the market share.
Right.
Kan? So there will be around 200. Dia punya target is by 2025 they will actually have 2,500. So maksudnya kena ada dalam 1,000 or more this year. Tapi I think it has slowed down sebenarnya. Macam Gentari, I think they wanted to plan out all the Petronas punya petrol station di highways, and dia orang target maybe dalam 24 over dekat plus highway, but now this year pun to meet 10 chargers dekat highways pun, DC charger is a challenge for them.
So okay, so you say that, tapi yang atas highway saja. Now the reason I tanya pasal atas highway ni is because kita ni dia ada musim balik kampung, kan.
Betul.
Chinese New Year balik kampung, betul. Raya balik kampung, Christmas balik kampung, Deepavali balik kampung,
National Day,
okay. Agung's birthday pun balik kampung. So benda-benda macam tu dia menyebabkan mungkin kadar penggunaan DC charger kat atas highway tu meningkat lah.
Betul.
Tapi adakah CPO ataupun charge point operator sudah nampak kata ada peningkatan penggunaan kat highway ataupun kesakan macam
okay. So dari segi perancangannya, kalau you bacalah dalam bulan 2 hari tu, Menteri yang berhormat Menteri KKR, dia bagi target. Dia kata dia nak 20 charging points, bukan nozzle 20 charging points di merata highway. So di sepanjang highway. So lepas itu Plus really has taken an effort to panggil semua charging point operators, and each one of this CPO kena bagi target mereka lah kepada Plus berapa. So maybe Gentari 10, TMB 7, kan, and a few other players as well. Jadi daripada situ kita boleh dapat 20 charging points to be planted dekat Plus highway by the end of this year, insyaAllah.
Alright.
So 20 charging points, satu charging points mungkin boleh accommodate kalau ada double gun, kan, so maybe boleh accommodate 40 kereta at one time.
So yang tepi highway tu nampaknya dah tak ada masalah kot, ramai orang berebut nak buat lah.
Ramai orang nak berebut nak
Cuma
buat.
mungkin masalah akses, masalah
electricity supply, masalah tanah.
Okay, so sekarang ni Datuk Charul pun tadi cakap going south tak ada masalah, going north pun dah macam okay lah. And if I'm not mistaken, ada dengar macam dia cakap Gentari punya yang dekat Jalan Sultan Azlan Shah tu memang very popular lah, kan. And I don't know whether the reason that you cited McDonald's being making it popular is true or not, but it is one of the more popular ones, right? So sekarang ni untuk owners kan dekat Malaysia ni, satu lagi benda yang orang selalu tanya I lah bila I bawa kereta elektrik, tunjuk kat kawan-kawan, dia tanya nak charge dekat rumah. One, orang misunderstand about charging dekat luar, iaitu orang ingat kat situlah nak charge sentiasa. Tapi my Evoque punya gang akan cakap 70% you charge dekat rumah. So okay, charging dekat rumah, kalau you rumah bawah tak ada masalah lah. Macam your members yang mana duduk dekat apartment, diorang cakap susah nak dapatkan permission untuk pasang charger ataupun tu. Is that still a thing?
Yes, very much so. Especially baru ni kan bulan 2 ke bulan 1, ada KPKT ada publish draft guidelines untuk pasangan pengecas EV di multi-level parking dan basement parking. Mana the initial draft cakap tidak dibenarkan sama sekali. That was enough because it was also highlighted in the media. That was enough to make even in-process applications by some of our members to their JMPs and the Kondo management to be halted. As a matter of fact, I spoke to one manager of a shopping mall who contacted me to get clarification on this, and then she also was putting her plans on hold nak letak charges dekat di basement parking. So that introduced a lot of uncertainty. Walaupun ini adalah guideline yang draft, belum lagi digazetkan ataupun finalized, and then I think YB Menteri cakap bulan Jun akan dikeluarkan lagi lah what is the actual guideline, what are the safety requirements for basement and multi-level parking. Tapi in essence it has put a hold and not only slowed down but I think halted any of the condo punya charging installation.
What was the main reason for not macam giving it the permission?
That one I think kena tanya the pihak berkenaan lah. I think it's from the feedback that we have been hearing is the Jabatan Bomba taking an approach that is very conservative to protect the safety of the public as well as the building, as well as the neighbouring cars. For example, the guidelines state that kalau dah ada charging dekat parking lot, there must be an empty lot in between the electric car and the normal cars. So that is, I think, to prevent the fire from spreading dan sebagainya lah. So kenapa they want to take this approach, only they can answer. As a member of the public, we are appreciative of the fact that Jabatan Penyelamat, Bomba dan Penyelamat is taking the approach to protect our well-being. However, I think that the other government ministries such as PT ataupun NTTC, the ones who are looking at roll-out of electric vehicle, need to be able to discuss with KPKT dan Jabatan Bomba and find a happy medium. The users will just have to, I guess, deal with it lah. Because after all, we are the users. The rate of our adopting EVs will depend on the availability of charging definitely. Kalau ramai yang duduk dekat condo tak dapat akses untuk charging, I foresee that of course, even I would advise for them, maybe you hold back on buying your EV until you are sure that you can get access to easy and affordable public charging.
So charging dekat multi-level punya building ni memang a very big issue lah sebenarnya.
Yes, it is tremendous because I think that one statistic that says at least for heavily dense urban areas where EVs are going to be of the most benefit in terms of reducing local pollution, not only air pollution but noise pollution, is in the urban areas. I think Putrajaya yang claim yang KL about 60-70% of the residents live in
75% of the residential units are high-rise, built from high-rise building.
Kita tak ada contoh daripada jiran kita kat selatan ke, dia orang lagi ramai. Macam mana dia orang buat? Dia orang pun ada target juga pasang. Apa dia orang punya, how are they doing it?
But so far we are seeing both in Singapore dengan Thailand, they do have charges at multi-level parking and basement parking. So we are not sure what specifically the rules are over there. But that's the thing lah. I think our Jabatan Bomba has done the comparisons and they have decided to be even more conservative than our neighbours. I mean, just taking a step back, myself, I personally believe that this is part of what they call regulatory burdens, where kalau a certain country chooses to impose a certain set of regulations to ensure the safety of its citizens, a little bit macam si EU impose Euro 6, Euro 7 kan, same lah, there is a regulatory burden. It will make things more expensive to implement. Some of the estimates I've seen, for example, kalau sekarang you want to be in compliance with all of the proposed safety guidelines, the cost can go up by about 4 to 6 times. So in the end, this cost will be passed on to either the consumer via the charging fee, kalau public charger, kalau personal charger nak pasang tinggi, dan dimasukkanlah cost tu dalam cost penggunaan kereta EV ni.
So sekarang ni daripada Zeva punya point of view, apa yang diperlukan untuk meyakinkan pihak berkuasa yang isu keselamatan ataupun isu yang diorang risau tu boleh diatasi?
The more we spend time dengan Jabatan Bomba dan Penyelamat Malaysia, lagi banyak kita sebenarnya lagi memahami mereka. Sebenarnya kebimbangan tu betul macam Datuk Syarul cakap, kita nak protect mereka, sangat nak protect the public kan, also the building. Tapi sebenarnya kebimbangan mereka adalah bukan charger sebenarnya. Dia orang dah faham charger punya mekanisme, ada protection, ada relay switch and all. Mereka bimbang mengenai the battery of the car itself. Jadi bila dia propose a few safety features tu, is around that. Contohnya kalau misalnya kereta terbakar, api yang memadam kereta kebakaran itu tidaklah boleh bercampur dengan air yang digunakan untuk memadam api itu tidak boleh bercampur dengan air yang pergi ke monsoon drain, for example. That's why dia minta kita buat sloping. Lepas tu
maksudnya ada separate drain tank.
Lepas tu bila ada kebakaran, mereka risau sekiranya ada asap-asap yang boleh yang toksik kepada public. Jadi dia minta fire shutter around the parking bay yang kita pasang charger tadi tu, yang ada EV. Lepas tu yang pasal kena ada 2.5 meter daripada EV dengan kereta biasa, itu memang ada dalam guideline itu. Kena ada pilih bomba yang berdekatan 30 meter kalau open space. Jadi bila kita kira pihak persatuan, bila kita kira apa peningkatan kos untuk ahli-ahli kita, contohnya kalau dekat open space untuk pasang 2 kali 7 kilowatt charger, mula-mula mungkinlah mereka hanya memerlukan 17,000. Dengan adanya safety feature yang begitu, mungkin tambah lagi 60,000 begitu. Betul kan? Jadi boleh berganda-ganda kan. Kalau misalnya inside building tu, dekat ground and juga dekat level 1 and level 2, mungkin dalam 43,000, tapi dengan adanya safety feature tu jadi 140,000 pula.
Kita ada konteks tak in terms of macam mana negara lain buat in terms of requirement ni? Adakah requirement yang ataupun keperluan yang dinyatakan oleh kerajaan tu, pihak berkuasa tu, selari ke tidak dengan negara-negara lain? Boleh dikatakan tidak selari lah sekarang ni tuan. Sebab kalau kita compare dengan negara-negara jiran, banyak sebenarnya charger di basement and also dekat multi-level parking pun ada. Jadi sekarang rasanya pihak Zeva sedang mencari jalan sebenarnya bagaimana kita nak bantu pihak Jabatan Bomba dan Penyelamat untuk buat satu guide yang sebenarnya tidak terlampau konvensional, tidak terlampau mengekang dan boleh spur the industry. Okay. So from you deal with multi brands kan, is masalah nampaknya macam masalah utama dia adalah takut terbakar lah. Masih lagi masalah yang besar ke bila charging EV ni sekarang kita dah?
Yeah, it's interesting benda ni came out kan. Sebab untuk import kereta EV dekat Malaysia ni kita ada undang-undang. Undang-undang ni one of the syarat is to get a UN 100 certification. UN 100 certification ni
100 standard regulation.
Ni UN 100 certification ni dia ada termasuk dengan thermal fire, battery fire and all that. So yalah, bila cerita pasal masalah battery and fire, saya rasa perkara tu ada body certification yang bagi sijil untuk mengatakan produk ni safe, boleh pakai kat sini. Kalau tak, kita tak boleh bawa. Itu pasal banyak produk daripada China hari ni tak masuk Malaysia sebab mereka tak ada certification ni. Alright. Dan it's interesting sebab
So kereta yang nak boleh bawa masuk ke Malaysia
kena
sama
ada
jenama besar ataupun parallel import, kena ada
UN 100.
So mesti kena lepas dah all these test dah lah.
Yes, bukan setakat tu saja. In fact nak export ataupun nak import ke sini, company kapal minta UN 100 ni pun.
Betul lah, pasal baru-baru ni kalau tak silap saya, I don't know which carrier, mungkin apa nama yang besar tu, the biggest car carrier tu, anyway, kan dia kata kena ada maximum 50% state of charge only.
Ya, itu undang-undang barulah.
Kan the new rules from the shipping company.
And part of the old rule is having the UN 100 certification.
Right.
It's because to control the fire punya issue lah.
Right.
Tapi since you brought this matter up, battery punya hal, I think kalau battery macam BYD Blade hari ni yang pakai lithium iron phosphate, memang tak terbakar pun. It's not, I mean, it has been proven in the market. Kereta bateri tu cucuk dengan pisau pun tak terbakar. You know, ada bateri chemistry yang langsung tak terbakar. Ada bateri chemistry yang of course prone to terbakar, tapi the technology yang ada hari ni,
maybe should ban Lamborghini sebab selalu terbakar. Banyak itu Lamborghini terbakar. Okay, so you're saying continue.
So I think teknologi certification yang ada dalam market and produk yang ada dalam market hari ni dah ada dia punya apa orang cakap cara-cara nak reduce this fire punya incident.
Okay. Sementara kita sembang ni kita letak dekat sini UN EC 100 punya link tu dekat bawah, dan maybe kalau ada boleh kita letak on screen, boleh baca sini lah, you pause lah kalau nak tengok. So dekat UN ECER 100 ni sekarang dah ada review 2 overview. So sekarang ni European requirement for approval of road electric vehicles. That's what it means lah ni R100 REV2 ni. So antara kategori yang diuji lah, ada testing capability, dia ada vibration test, thermal shock and cycling test. Untuk vibration tu I don't know whatever lah kenapa dia nak buat, tapi dia test between 7 Hz and 50 Hz and whatever. Then dia ada thermal shock cycling test, dia test battery from minus 40 Celsius hingga 60 darjah Celsius. Disimpan bateri tu minimum 6 jam before dia buat dia punya cycle lah, 5 test. Lepas tu mechanical shock 80 meters per second up to 28 G. Dan mechanical integrity, maksudnya bila accident kot, pecah ke tidak ke macam mana, 100 kN, 75 mm radius crush flatten. So tak besar lah, 75 mm quite small. Dan dia nak tekan itu. Dan ada fire resistance. Fire resistance ni maksudnya kalau ada api di luar, fire from outside vehicle due to fuel spill, 4 fasa. Open fuel fire, preheating followed by direct exposure to flame, followed by indirect exposure to flame, then followed by cool down. So dia tengoklah setiap reaction. So dia memang ada test bakar benda tu. Kemudian external short circuit protection. This meant to verify the performance of protection to a short circuit condition less than 5 ni apa ni
Aku tak dapat.
MOHM tu
Tak tahu.
apa
Ohm scale.
M ohm lah, aku tak tahu M tu micro ohm ke milli ohm ke, aku tak tahu tu milli ohm lah kot kan. Connected to the thing for at least 1 hour. Overcharge protection pun ada, over discharge protection pun ada, over temperature protection pun ada. Yang saya rasa yang paling depa takut ni over temperature masa charging lah kot. This test to verify the protection performance against internal overheating during operation even under cooling failure. That means kalau cooling system dia fail pun benda tu tak boleh overheat. Continuously cycle at manufacturer maximum continuous current charge/discharge while the ambient air conditions are gradually increased until the temperature have stabilized or protection device inhibit the charge and discharge of the reactor. So nampaknya dia punya piawai dia adalah, dan memang ada dah. Cuma adakah piawai ni sama ke tidak dia punya standard dia dengan untuk kereta ICE? Is that the concern ke macam mana? Do we know?
I can't answer on that lah.
Ini hanya spesifik untuk EV piawaian UN100 ni. Yang kami tengah pun alami lah proses ni.
Tapi kereta biasa pun dia ada juga test untuk fire ni kan.
Mungkin lah, tapi I'm not sure what it's called lah. Maybe
yeah.
I'm not sure what it's called.
So ada ni lah, mungkin bomba dah biasa kot dengan kereta ICE, so dia tahu macam mana handle benda tu lah kan.
Yeah.
So this one is up to the industry ke macam mana dia nak convince them. Because walaupun kita dengar kata bomba kata benda ni macam renyah lah kan, macam unreasonable, double or triple or quadruple the cost, tapi bila dia cakap pasal safety, kita nak bangkang dia sangat pun tak berani juga kan. Apa-apa kan. Mai boleh kat aku mampu nak jawab macam mana kan. Betul lah kan.
I think some of our members kan macam they are so confident with the safety of EV. Dia rasa macam for them they are willing to provide, katakanlah macam kena ada fire blanket, they are willing to provide fire blanket, right. Kan. Lepas tu they are willing to provide assistance as well. Kalau dekat building tu ada EV charger, they provide they were willing to provide assistance to this building owner. Tu Syarul hilang kan. Jadi sebenarnya our members are confident with the products. Cuma this needs to be done hand in hand lah dengan wakil kerajaan kan. Kita nak kena ada lebih banyak lagi sesi engagement, sesi benchmarking sebenarnya dengan wakil-wakil kerajaan ni.
But ultimately benda ni memang kita kena cari penyelesaian lah.
Betul. Sebab banyak member Ziva yang their play is actually at Kondo and also at shopping mall. Business is halted sekarang. Nak pasang ke tak nak pasang sekarang ni kan? Requirement.
Well, you saying that most of the charge point operators dia nak fokus dekat Kondo and shopping mall?
Bukan. Some of our members whose main business is actually at Kondo and shopping mall, their business memang dia berhentikan lah sekarang.
So the Kondo and shopping mall business untuk charging is quite good actually.
It is sekarang sebenarnya, especially at Kondo kan, sebab Kondo ni you ada fixed return kan, memang tiap-tiap malam orang charge kan. So memang they want to play there.
And that one is AC juga pula tu kan?
AC.
So lower cost lah kan.
Betul.
And more steady return lah.
Betul. So ada yang stop. Dia macam Aisyah macam mana ni, when is KPKT releasing this guide?
Okay, so tak tahu lah, I might be wrong, but in my mind lah kan, selalunya bila kita cerita tentang bateri terbakar masa charge ni, bukan masa fast charging saja kan? Untuk AC charging macam jarang terdengar benda terbakar tak?
Ya, tapi dia orang blanket everything. Ya. I think kalau charging dekat bawah basement ni, dia limited to socket CE tu je.
Okay. 15 amp tu.
I don't know how much is that, 7.3 I think, yang macam Tesla punya. So dia bagi socket instead of normal plug. Yang tu allowable lah.
Wall box tu.
No, it's not wall box, it's just a socket. Dia pakai industrial socket.
Yang tu. Yang tu, Datuk Syarul tahu tak yang tu berapa amp tu boleh draw tu? Berapa kilowatt boleh dapat tu?
Daripada mana?
Yang CE socket atau apa orang panggil tu? Apa?
Komando plug.
Komando.
Industrial, ada komando socket ada dua type, apa yang merah dengan yang biru. Both can go up to 32, tapi yang biru is single phase saja. Tapi what we can see so far for EC charging, all the mishaps that we are seeing are the result of improper installation, di mana some of the wires are undersized ataupun was not clipped on properly, which will happen to all appliances anyway kalau improperly installed. Ataupun orang pakai 3-pin plug on a socket that's too old that cannot support the long duration charging, and that socket pula the plug for the mobile ICCP tu, the inline control box tu tak ada temperature sensor. And that is the weak point lah. Kalau nak consider the risk of charging AC ni, improper installation for the wall box yang sepatutnya can go all the way up to 32 amps, ataupun the 3-pin socket ataupun the 3-pin plug. The industrial CEE socket yang can go 60 to 32 tu memang tak banyak lagi, so we haven't heard of any untoward incidences relating to those.
So nampaknya macam all the concerns tu can at least be reduced by properly specifying the equipment and requiring proper qualification for people doing the installation lah.
Betul. Macam but then SD sebenarnya already issued the guideline pun, the EVCS guideline last year lagi, Julai I believe, that states that kalau EV charging you're supposed to use the industrial plug sahaja and not use the 3-pin. That has created some consternation, walaupun benda ni is just a guideline, tapi it's also confusing because a lot of the OEMs, I think recently only BMW started issuing the mobile connector yang boleh tukar kepala dia kepada industrial, tapi all of them are still issuing the 3-pin mobile connectors. So users also are saying that if it's true that it's not safe and SD is saying not to use it, why are the OEMs giving us the 3-pin connector when we buy the car? So that is also something I believe like pihak-pihak kuasa macam maybe even Mari ataupun ET can clarify so that then everybody is on the same page. What is safe and what is not advised.
So I'm also wondering pasal benda ni macam you guys cakap tadi dekat KL, Kelang Valley at least 75% of people live in
75% of residential units are from high-rise condo.
Or high-rise and condo. Therefore, we probably can assume that 75% of car owners are going to be living dekat tempat macam tu lah kan. So moving as it is right now, okay lah, kita faham lah ada all these issues tentang nak retrofitting older buildings. Maybe there are some concerns about, kita tahu tak some older buildings mungkin lot dia very narrow, parking ke, access for bomba, mengerikan ke kan, dia tak nak boleh masuk. Okay lah, kita understand jugalah. But moving forward, macam mana you nak selesai benda ni so that it becomes a bit more clear? Kan, because if you're all going to own EVs,
betul,
that means dia macam rumah lah, tiap rumah ada elektrik.
betul.
Takkanlah nanti you punya parking lot nanti macam mana cerita dia kan. So
For us, sebab kalau kita tengok EV ni as part of sustainability punya product kan, night time charging must be allowed. Kenapa saya cakap macam tu? Sebab katakanlah macam even like macam 10% of the population pakai EV pun nanti akan jadi higher electricity demand. So takkan kerajaan nak tambah kita punya power plant pula, kan?
Before
so
that, I nak you backtrack sikit. So benda ni adalah satu benda yang banyak orang tak faham. That is how electricity systems in most countries work, right? And how it's designed and what is your baseline apa benda. So benda tu dia orang tak tahu pun. So bila you cakap tentang kena charge malam tu, it's obvious to anybody who knows anything about the electrical system. Tapi untuk Joe public, dia kata kenapa nak kena charge malam?
Betul.
So boleh tak you explain sikit kenapa is more eco-friendly for you to charge at night?
Okay, so kita punya demand kat Malaysia ni, demand kita paling tinggi sekali dalam pukul 11, pukul 12. Sebab waktu tu orang dah start pasang aircon, business dah start buka, dah start masak. Pukul 11, 12 tu kita memang higher speed. Lepas tu lagi dalam pukul 7, 8 malam orang dah balik rumah, there's another peak. Lepas tu the peak turun lah. So that's why kita punya peak ada dua kan. Kalau macam UK dia ada tea time peak pukul 4 tu orang turn on the kettle and masak masak air teh. Jadi kadang-kadang lah kalau ada Liverpool lawan Man U, okay, adalah sikit naik sekejap kan, malam tu sikit je. Jadi highest peak is actually waktu tengah hari. Kata kalau the overall capacity is 20 gigawatt kan, government tak boleh sediakan 20 gigawatt, dia kena sediakan lebih daripada tu. Kan, katakanlah macam ada 40% reserve margin. Jadi bila ada EV, takkanlah government nak sediakan lebih banyak lagi electricity capacity waktu tengah hari, sebab orang charge di siang kan. Sebab sebenarnya ada energi, tenaga yang tidak digunakan waktu malam sebenarnya. Jadi sebenarnya that's why kita kalau energy efficiency, kita nak flatten the curve tu. Maksudnya bila malam ada juga penggunaan energi. Sebab bila kita turn on or turn off power plant, sebenarnya ada power loss kat situ kan. So that's why lah kita sebenarnya bila orang beli EV, orang banyak guna waktu siang untuk charge, sebenarnya tak berapa environmental friendly. Kita sebenarnya nak galakkan orang charge waktu malam, night time charging, so that we can flatten the curve. Jadi itulah, night time charging must happen. Therefore basement and multi level parking punya charging must be allowed. Macam mana caranya untuk kita mitigate the safety, the fire punya risk tu, kita kena fikir bersama-sama lah.
So I'm reminded of satu improvement yang the automotive industry buat, but it took some time to explain to the rescue services, and that is the use of hot press form steel, ultra high strength steel. So benda ni I think happened in the late 1990s bila the German started introducing ultra high strength steel around dia orang punya passenger cage. So Mercedes-Benz I think was one of the first. So what happened was bila kereta dia orang accident, bomber find out susah nak potong kereta tu. Their jaws of life just were not capable. So it took Mercedes-Benz some time to come up with like a macam bukan like a way to explain to the fire rescue department kat mana benda tu ada, all the hard parts. So macam EV pun sekarang kan you kena tunjuk kat mana dia punya electrical cut off kan, untuk bomba tarik dulu. That's the first thing that you must do. So I think this thing pun sama. So it took some time, and bila Proton bawa masuk gunakan teknologi yang sama on their persona, on their whatever, setelah iris and all that, pun benda yang sama juga berlaku. They actually had to go to bomba and tunjuk macam mana nak buat, and actually we did a video for them, and it showed that bila you guna besi keras tu, memang the cabin is more strong, tapi it took the jaws of life like 50% longer to cut through. So it's just that they need to know what are the risks and how much longer or how much more difficult it is for them to deal with the issue lah. Walaupun grinder pun takes significantly longer untuk take people out. So right now the industry, I'm sure the auto industry ni is highly regulated kan. Maybe it's just a question of sharing information.
Betul. Itu sebab macam bagi Ziva, kita sebenarnya sangat berterima kasih sebab kita punya member ada yang ahli-ahli kita, ada yang charging point operator, ada juga OEM kan, pengimport kereta. Jadi kita bergantung pada pengimport kereta inilah untuk menerangkan kepada bomber safety feature yang ada dekat dalam kenderaan elektrik.
So do you think that, are you confident that EVs are safe enough untuk to be charged anyway? Pasal kalau pergi dekat KLCC, there is a charger dekat basement 4 kan. Jauh lah deep in the power of KLCC.
As a
60 kilowatt.
As a consumer, I am confident with the safety features of EV and the charging standard, because I happen to mix with you guys who always macam talk about EV kan. Tu sebabnya saya confident sebenarnya nak beli kereta. Cuma saya kena mengaku yang untuk normal Joe on the street, and bila kita tengok government punya agency, government officers ni, sebenarnya they are consumer first before they wear the cap of their government officers. Betul, kan. Betul. So sebenarnya kita kena convincekan mereka, yakinkan mereka from consumer punya part, and then only things will move faster. InsyaAllah lah kot.
So Dato' Syarul, maybe you boleh cerita sikit your experience in dealing with people who are not familiar with EVs. Has there been a change, in the way that people see, whether just Joe Public ke ataupun government departments ke?
There's nothing like actually touching and sitting inside an EV and understanding what it's like, because unfortunately banyak of the people who don't know firsthand the EV technology or even know about direct knowledge of some EV driver. A lot of the information comes from the internet, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And of course, there's a lot of even not misinformation, but EV fires tend to be played up a lot more than normal combustion, because the combustion engine fires are kind of normal, whereas EVs are still rare. So benda tu jadi, even though it's like 1 in 10,000, the one gets played up a lot in the media, and that unfortunately gives an impression that EVs catch fire all the time. So I guess I think Ziva has been doing a lot of groundwork in terms of helping the relevant people, the policy makers, the decision makers get better understanding. However, I think that this one should not be only Ziva that is helping our policy makers understand the technology better, because in the end, the owners of the technology are the OEMs, the people who own the cars, let's say the brands that own the cars like BMW, Volvo, Tesla dan sebagainya lah. They should be playing a more active role, front and center, even if it's not a public role, to really seek the understanding from the policy makers. What is this technology? What are the risks? What are the ways to mitigate those risks? What are the numbers like, and so on and so forth. And I think that, for example, an agency like Mari can help gather all this together and provide sort of like an umbrella for the OEMs. In terms of bringing education to the policy makers, I think it's important for the people, the OEMs lah, because they own the technology. They can explain the technology best, and they can explain the risks and mitigation of the technology best to the policy makers, and to be able to engage effectively as a group. Either they use the association like MEA, ataupun Mali can gather them under an umbrella, and just interact and share as much information as possible.
In terms of on Perkemah punya side, what do you think? How do you think this needs to be handled?
I think the issue here, government, most of the government punya, I mean this is my personal opinion lah, observation. Most of the government punya penguasa, enforcer ataupun policy maker to date, tak nampak yang EV will become mainstream. So dia masih lagi macam, kalau dalam pepatah kata masuk kaki satu je dalam air, satu lagi masih kering. Because you know, diorang macam, from my observation lah, I tengok diorang macam wait and see punya attitude. Okay, kalau benda ni dah banyak orang, nanti baru diorang akan take action and do a lot more things lah kan. But that's how I see it lah. Tapi I think it's true apa yang Datuk Syarul cakap, that more engagement will translate into effective delivery nanti kan. So
to me, what everybody says here, memang everything has a ring of truth to it, in the sense that memang kalau boleh kita nak OEM to be more active, bercerita, but I think even among OEMs pun tak semua orang totally committed to the idea of EV, let alone the government side. Even the brands yang ada dekat Malaysia ni pun, kalau kita tengok, only Volvo yang cakap dia punya volume will be 75% EV by 2025. Nobody else has like kind of that strong commitment to the volume, because they still doing a look and see punya kind of thing. Whereas Volvo dia kata confirm, and even at 75% volume by 2025 pun, we might be conservative about that, too conservative. It could be even higher. And that's the thing. And I agree that the government, because diorang punya ears obviously occupied by industry most of the time, right? And the automotive industry and the oil and gas industry and all the conventional industries have their ears, and everybody will be trying to get their best interests at heart, you know. So they'll be saying, nantilah dulu, kita tak ready lagi. So everybody pun macam tak sure. But I think the reality moving forward is simple. This is about a step change in energy efficiency. I think that's the thing yang I try to repeat every single time I ada engagement dengan the authorities, is that this is about a step change in energy efficiency. The last time we have such a major step change in energy efficiency was steam power. And the moment we had steam power, there was no stopping it. Habis semua. And then you had internal combustion and that wiped out steam. So now there is another step change in energy efficiency in everything that we do. And energy efficiency simply means that you will pay less for energy. So if we have a certain amount of budget and suddenly we are saving 10% from our energy bill, then now we have 10% extra money that will go back into the economy to do other more productive things. This thing kalau kita tak buat and our neighbours do, we will see, for example, if a Thai person who now drives an EV suddenly have 500 extra ringgit in his pocket, he's not going to put all 500 ringgit in the bank. He might use all 500 ringgit to enjoy himself more, buy stuff or save half, whatever. But whatever it is, it just gives the economy more opportunity to grow. And I think that's what the government needs to really understand, that if they are slow in adopting this, and I'm sure people at Petronas ke, dekat TNB ke, all the big energy peddlers, dia dah tengok, dia dah tahu dah the cost of energy moving forward. Now whether they want to publicly share with us what are the actual cost of energy from whatever source is another matter, but I think they can see it coming already lah. So it's just that lah. I think that everybody that's in this space needs to convince the government of that. Wanting to rely on the OEM is, I don't know whether they are committed to that or not. If they're committed, you only have people like Tesla and the Chinese companies who are committed because they don't have any other product, and maybe Volvo. But BMW and Mercedes-Benz, they will talk about it because they are now pushing that, because they realize that all that, I mean, here's the thing. Okay, so the Tesla Model Y is the most popular car first quarter 2023. And that car is the price of a 3 Series. So clearly, in my mind, it's not stealing buyers from Toyota Camry. It's definitely not stealing buyers from Toyota Corolla. Whose buyers is it stealing? It is stealing BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi and Volvo buyers. That's the biggest market yang kena hentak dengan Tesla sekarang. They may not be able to see it because of the market dynamics sekarang. Kita just coming out of the lockdown and therefore the market is difficult to read or whatever. But those numbers has to come from somewhere, right? And I think it's the premium segment that's going to be hardest hit if they don't have EV, because by just having electric motor, your car now is elevated instantly in terms of NVH. And in the premium segment, NVH counts for more than anything else. So the OEM needs to be convinced in that way. The government needs to be convinced in the economic sense that this is good for the economy as a whole. Of course, you need to then convince Petronas that this is also good, and TNB needs to convince the government that why this is good. So, you know, this talking about the right, essentially today I think we're talking about right to charge lah, right? Right to charge, and how this is going to change town planning as it were, or building planning, code zoning requirements, cabling whatever lah, infrastructure requirements, and all these things are just. It's just too big for one single organization to talk about. So everybody needs to somehow get a correct chorus line lah, give everybody the correct note, and then we all form a chorus lah. Otherwise, then it's just not going to work lah. You guys, you got anything to?
Aisyah?
Itulah, I think the next policy change that we're going to see is actually the fuel subsidy restructuring. So that's going to be huge sebenarnya, because dia akan menyebabkan total cost of ownership of EV and petrol car or diesel car would be much more interesting. And kita boleh nampak nanti the dynamic of the consumer punya purchase on in automotive industry berubah. So itu yang sebenarnya Ziva harapkan lah. Sebab kalau kita nak cakap pasal sustainability, how much carbon reduction you can do on one EV, it's not going to work. Economy wise, we need to actually get people interested to buy EV bila dia punya total cost of ownership tu turun. But again, when it comes to convincing the policy maker ni kan. Itulah saya nak tekankan, ada banyak lobbies ataupun pressure group kan, and all of us are actually playing our own roles and different roles kan, but kita sebenarnya menuju pada satu objektif yang sama sebenarnya. We want cleaner environment, we want people to adopt EV easily kan. But satu yang kita kena ingat, government officials are also consumer. If we can convince them on consumer punya point of view, insyaAllah lah they will be convinced.
And
Okay.
consumers mostly is about savings at their own pockets lah. If it makes more sense to them, then they will
Betul.
be behind it. Okay, Kemal, anything?
On our side, well, we look at it this way lah. This is at the infant stage of EV, and we understand that banyak education, banyak information kena patut today. I think a lot of misconception tentang tentang fire and all that, with the right proper education, bagi tahu tentang orang bateri jenis apa, that kind of thing, that will help, I guess, with the adoption. Tapi kita harap, there are too many hiccups bagi for EV to jalan smoothly lah, adoption to jalan smoothly. So kalau boleh, on perkembangan side, more engagement dengan industri kita lagi welcome lah, sebab banyak information yang perlu patut before government boleh buat any decision kan. So kita harap ada lagi more engagement lah.
Memang car makers banyak maklumat sebenarnya, but sometimes they don't, macam the things that like when we talk to experts lah, experts tend to think that what they're doing is common sense, it's so obvious, but untuk orang luar it's not obvious because we don't know anything about it, right? So when we talk about car companies, mungkin dia kata it is obvious lah, it's not going to cause a fire. I said, why is it obvious? It's not obvious to me. And you have to explain in like words of one syllables to the people who are in charge, so they say, oh, okay, because we are not all chemists, right? So nak cerita tentang the chemistry of batteries ni kan, it's not. There's a list of most difficult courses in the world. I think chemical engineering is number 3 after, I can't remember what lah, but this is chemistry is to me lah, I find chemistry very difficult. So this is something yang memang technical, but technical stuff is boleh overcome.
Satu lagi kita daripada perkembangan side lah kan. Kita minta the promise of EV is cheap ownership of transport. The promise of EV. Tapi at the moment kita ada undang-undang yang tak bagi kita jual bawah 100k, this and that kan. So that is a turn off. Orang bila I like certain brands, I don't want to mention name lah. Dia orang punya kereta the same brand, the same spec, jual dekat Thailand this much, tapi bila sampai dengan kita 30,000, 40,000 lebih mahal. That kind of thing is a turn off, it's a big turn off.
Well, that one you have to balance with
of course lah,
existing investment lah kan.
Of course lah. Tapi me saying that is that harap the national automotive yang kita dah label dia sebagai national, cepat-cepatlah keluar EV dia orang. Supaya the competitive punya price ni akan
well, that one everybody seems to agree that 2026 is going to be the earliest lah. That's going to happen. So between now and then, I don't know. What are you going to say, right? What are you going to say, right? Until then, I mean, to be fair, if you've been listening to Jim Farley for the whole of last week, it was everywhere talking about everything. Building EV is very, very difficult. So if Ford finds it difficult, I'm sure P1 and P2 is also struggling to come out with an EV that makes sense kan. I think that's. You got anything last word Dato'?
In the end, I think that consumers will vote with their wallet.
That's right.
If it's too expensive, it's too difficult, then we can see whether these targets that the government has announced in terms of the number of chargers, but more importantly, the percentage of vehicles that are electric on the road. It's going to be very difficult because in the end, if kalau orang tu berminat macam mana, tapi kalau the coconut charging is not available and the DC charging outside is expensive, they will figure that they will just buy the next car. It's like that the new Toyota hybrid electric, ada juga electric dalam nama dia, tapi walaupun dia tak guna electric So in the end, I think the government, the various ministries should get together and maybe this is a cabinet level discussion that needs to be held in terms of the varying competing requirements from the different ministries and see whether again we can support the growth of the charging infrastructure better, as we have heard before, that now it seems that after a spurt of deployments last year and late last year, now things have stalled again. So in terms of the highways, especially in terms of heading north, in terms of heading east, that is a very worrying situation. It's like anything.
So I think in the end, the EV discussion is just about what EV does is it allows countries to adopt renewable energy much easier, because then you're converting a lot of your sectors from running on oil and gas, which has a lot of geopolitical issues with it, to electricity, which can be generated in situ, which can be generated in your own country with the existing technology. So the discussion about EV is just one way of allowing countries to adopt renewable energy easier. And it doesn't personally, I feel that it will come regardless of what the government does or does not do. Now, the reason why I would like to see it happen sooner is because it actually offers significant economic advantage to the country. And if we don't do it earlier, then we will do it later, which simply means that our neighbors will have that advantage before us, and that will just make it harder for us, right? And that's the message that I have repeated to everybody that will listen to me, because too much of the discussion about EV is about EV, which I don't think that should be the case lah.
Bigger scope.
Yeah. So okay, sampai situ je discussion kita hari ni. Minta tolong sikit komen, dan tadi kita mungkin dah run some grafik ke sama apa benda ke, kau nak baca berhenti pause lah, dan lepas ni kalau ada ruang sikit lagi kita letak lagi sikit lagi repeat of whatever yang tadi tu R100 tu, the government punya proposals on high level charging, high rise charging and all that kind of thing lah. And also kita nak minta everybody to join in as an activist. So if I get an email address for you that you can send to the government, I will put it here right now. Dan hampa tolonglah, if aku ada masa, aku buat a template dekat comment section tu, hampa ambil template tu, tempel dekat hampa punya email dan hantarlah dekat dia orang. So at least benda ni kalau kita tengok anywhere pun, all we need is 5% activation. 5% activation, it is enough to move national policy. So all we need is 5% of all Malaysians to show interest in this thing and activate and be active in moving the issue. We will see something happen. Okay? Macam mana pun, tolong aku sikit, tekan butang like, share dan juga subscribe. Madu Malaysia, apa yang beriman, kita jumpa lagi insyaAllah.